Welcome back to Socks and Sandals, and today, it's been a minute since I've done one of these. I'm doing a pickups video. I kind of stopped doing these because honestly they weren't doing like previous numbers like they were on the channel, but yesterday, I'm doing this the Sunday prior to the Arkansas Retro Expo. So I had just gone up there. It was a fantastic show. If you don't know, it's the Retro Expo put on by Arkansas Picker, which is one of my favorite YouTubers. I just like his demeanor and just the style of content he does. He goes what he's called live yard sailing, where he'll film himself going to yard sales and buying cool stuff, and he streams every once in a while where he cleans consoles, does conventions, the typical kind of reseller on YouTube, their kind of shtick. But yeah, it was a fun expo, and I went with the intention in mind to get a lot of the more uncommon 360 games, because for those unaware, I'm trying to get all of the 360 games within the Xbox 360 library that were released physically. Yeah, I think I did pretty well at the Arkansas Retro Expo. So let's just get into it. So to start off the stack of all of these are 360 games, by the way. To start it off, this first game I actually didn't get at the expo, but I had gone to Oklahoma for work about 2 weeks prior to the expo, and while I was there, I visited a game exchange in Lawton, and I think it had just opened back in January, and they had a game that I hadn't. This is the first time I'd ever actually seen it, as they say, out in the wild. I had some per diem, but I still had a whole week out of town that I needed to use it for, so I wasn't going to spend it on this game. But I decided that while I was going to the Arkansas Retro Expo, I would take a slight detour, about a 2-hour detour, which ended up making it about a 10-hour drive to the expo. But I went back up to Lawton. I had some stuff I could trade in, so I traded it in towards this, and I ended up getting a copy of Operation Darkness on the Xbox 360. They had it at, I think, like $99.95. With the stuff I traded in, I got $70 in credit, so I only paid about like $31 for this. Unfortunately, so when I got it, it was in like a movie rental case. It does have the manual and disc, and I do have the receipt. So it was actually $99.99, so $100. I have my monitor turned off as to prevent a glare, so I'm not even sure where that's at. But got $70.85 in trade-in, and then ended up paying $31.77 for the remainder. But it's got a strange smell to it. I don't know if it was like just the plastic, like movie gallery case or movie rental case that it was in, like degrading, because it's got a strange smell. The manual and the disc and the artwork. It isn't quite cigarette smell. It isn't quite cigarette smoke, but it does have a smell. But otherwise, I mean, I'm not going to be pulling this off the shelf to smell it, so I don't really mind that. Cigarette smoke is something different, where like stuff it's next to, the smell will like move on to that stuff. But yeah, it's more of a chemical, like that's why I'm thinking it was the case it was in, the plastic was breaking down. It actually had a sticker on it in that case that said $20, which I wish I wish I would have known about before having to spend $100. The art style looks like UFO Table. The people that did what the hell are they called? They did the animation for Persona 5 and then the Fate series. That's what the art style looks like. So I don't know if that's true or not. It is an Atlas game, and Atlas tends to use UFO Table. But yeah, so that was this is probably like one of the, you know, coolest finds. At that same game exchange, I found Infernal, which is the game I bought when I originally went there for work. But that game has since come down quite a lot. I think I ended up only paying $30 something for it, maybe 40. I can't quite remember. But anyway, so moving on to the expo, and I think I left the hotel probably about 8:30. Went up there. I parked on the wrong end of the expo, but I was probably there in line probably about 8:45, almost 9 o'clock, and there were only like 4 people there, so I was able to get a good spot at the front. Arkansas Picker, I think his actual name is Brandon. You know, I don't want to like fanboy, but it was just strange to like, I've only been to a few conventions. I haven't actually like, you know, watched any of like other content creators that put their own conventions on that I've been to. So that may have been why it was just strange for me to, because I'm standing there in line and he comes out and he's the one taking the money for like the wristbands. I don't know. I guess I just kind of expected. I know he had a booth there too. I knew he was gonna vend. I guess I just kind of expected that to be, and I don't mean any offense, left to just like workers. But I guess it was just kind of cool and unexpected that he actually came up and he was working really. I mean, it is kind of a livelihood, a job, so that should be expected. But yeah, he was cool there. But once the event actually opened, I didn't mean to go straight for his booth. It was just, like I said, I'm there looking for 360 games. So my eyes scanned the room and I went straight for wherever I saw 360 games. And it just happened to be the Arkansas Picker booth. I walked up and saw the sign. I was like, oh shit. He had some of the more uncommon games that I don't really see often. He had a previous video where he had a copy of Spectral Force 3. I believe it was when he went to the Oklahoma game show, I think is what that convention was called. Which if I wasn't going to this one, that one would have been pretty cool to go to. But at this expo, he didn't have Spectral Force 3. But I ended up picking up a copy of Split Second from him. Not in the best of condition. It does have water damage, but I don't really care. It was $9, and I think, according to my CLZ app, this is, I don't know, like a $11 game. So it was a few dollars off. I mean, I just, I found this at a different booth. No, it was a different game that I got. I think I did see this at a different booth. It was in better condition, but whatever. I would rather support the Arkansas Picker than, sorry to say, just some rando. But I also got the Cursed Crusade, which I've only ever seen this one other time. It was actually at a game store in Oklahoma City. I can't remember the name of it, but they wanted like $40 for it there, and Brandon had it at 20. So a little better of a deal there, but all of his games did have manuals, and they're all in playable condition. I'm not going to say that they're pristine, but I'm sure he vets all of his inventory, because I think most of this stuff, because they do have these stickers on the back, came from his flea market booth. So I'm certain that while they're in his booth, they're things that he's tested and looked over and at least cleaned. But the coolest one that I picked up from him is Dead to Rights Retribution. I used to see this all the time before the 360 boom, and now I hardly ever see it. And when I do, it's very overpriced. He had it priced at 20. This is the game I did see at another booth, I believe, and I didn't notice this either until I was making a second round around. It was Retro Rick's booth. I think he had it at like $14.99. But again, I'd rather support the Arkansas picker. So I grabbed this. Total, it would have been $49. And I asked him if he'd take 45. He said yeah, mainly due to the condition of split second, which, I mean, he already had it priced lower than at least what it was selling according to price charting. It looks like he had it priced as a loose disc, but yeah, that was my first set. I was actually his first customer of the day too, only because I went straight to his booth right when I walked in. So that was something. But yeah, nice to have those. I have looked over the achievement lists for all the games I've picked up here, because not only am I trying to not only am I trying to complete the full 360 set, but I'm also an achievement hunt whore. Achievement whore for short. So any game that I can find that has at least a completable list, like no unobtainables, no glitch trophies, no online that isn't active anymore, I'm all for those. So I did look through them. Split Second has online. I don't think the servers are down, but it would require me to either boost or just boost, because I doubt people are still playing it online. Cursed Crusade is still doable. Operation Darkness is still doable. I think Dead to Rights is still doable. I can't quite remember. But next up is the most expensive game I bought while I was at the Retro Expo. It's not quite as expensive as Operation Darkness, but it is an expensive title. It is Concept Saga. So the vendor had it priced at $90. I'll open this in a second because there's something else that I'm jazzed about this, but it doesn't have a manual, and according to CLZ, and I don't know, am I scummy for like going through the show and pulling out my phone to look at prices as opposed to just, haggling just without looking? I don't know. I knew Concept Saga had come down a lot. And when it's stuff like Dead to Rights or Split Second, or when it's the stuff that's, $20 or whatever, I'm not going to bother looking that up, because $20, it is still a sum of money. I'm not going to say it's not nothing. I'm not just rich like that. But when it's something where it's $90, that's a lot of money. So I want to make sure that I'm not significantly overpaying. And according to price charting, it was selling at like 83. So I asked him if he'd take 80, and he said yes. So another reason why I'm happy about this, other than it being, again, a harder to find, more expensive 360 game, I've only seen this one other time at my actual local game exchange. They had it priced for $39.99, which was way under price charting, because it was during the 360 boom where nobody was able to keep up. So a lot of the prices were just significantly lower. But what Game Exchange did, because I had it happen at this store, is when they scan a game, and I'm guessing it's in their system or whatever, it probably tells them, hey, this game is selling for this amount of money. Because I took Crash Time to them, and when they went to ring me up, because I think they had it priced at like $14.99, and I've told this story before. At the time, that game was selling for like $70. So when they rang it up, like, the dude was like, holy crap. So I'm guessing it brings up the current going value of it. So I'm sure if I had picked up Cold Set Saga for $30 and took it up there, it would have rang up and said that it was currently selling for like 300 or so, I think, at that time. Maybe 130. I'm going to say 130 because 300 seems like a lot, but who knows? It could have been. I think Fatal Inertia was selling for something like that. So I got Arkansas Picker to sign the artwork of this. You know, I felt I did have to deliberate on it. Like, it's a more expensive game on the 360. Do I really want to deface it? And I thought, I'm never going to sell this. If anything, I'd give it away. But I don't intend to ever sell, especially now that I'm trying to go for a full set, a 360 collection. It's not like I got this at a steal and I seem to make a profit on it. But I thought it would just be, let's get the most expensive game I bought at the show, which just happened to be this, and get Arkansas Picker to sign it. I did have some foresight and had him sign the inside as opposed to just write on the artwork. But I was also trying to get RNG Gamer's autograph as well. He was there. But right after getting Arkansas Picker's autograph, I spotted him. And as I was walking up, Saturn Steve was in front of me. I didn't know it was him at the time. But I'm assuming it's his wife, pull out, I think it's a microphone or a camera or something, and I thought, oh, they're vlogging. But right as I went, Mr. RNG Gamer, sir, fucking Saturn Steve throws his arm around RNG Gamer, and they start doing a video. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. So I'm just I actually startled Saturn Steve's wife, or whoever the lady was that was filming, because she turned around real quick, because I shouted out RNG Gamer's name. I don't think RNG Gamer heard me, but they'll probably edit around it, because Saturn Steve didn't actually start talking until I put my arm around him. But there may be a sound clip of me shouting at RNG Gamer on that video. I don't know. And then I'm kind of just standing there because I didn't know exactly how long he would be. I didn't know if he was just introducing, but it seemed like Saturn Steve was doing a game. It's like, oh, fuck. So I walked off. I wanted to get RNG Gamer's autograph, so I kind of just hung around for a little bit. But I don't want to interrupt him doing a video. RNG Gamer does have an actual job, but he has a way of making more income. Not to say that YouTube isn't an actual job, but I just don't want to, they're working. They're doing stuff for their channel. So I didn't want to just walk up and say, oh, hey, can I have your autograph? Especially in front of Saturn Steve when I didn't intend to get his. But so I kind of just, I walked around hoping that they would finish soon and I can get his autograph. But they didn't. So I went to lunch, came back to see if I can catch him again, and I didn't see him, so I just went home. But yeah, so I got Arkansas Picker to sign my Cold Set Saga. But before any of that happened, another booth had a few games I needed. They had Fall of Cybertron. They had the Captain America game. They had Sonic the Hedgehog, like the '06 version, which has kind of gone up in price. I think it's like a $20 game now. But I had already bought Concept Saga, so that was already $80. I actually had to go back to the ATM to get more money. I found another copy of Spectral Force 3. They wanted $45 for it, but I didn't realize at the time of me getting Concept Saga, it was at the same booth as Spectral Force 3. It was just separated from the other 360 games. So I didn't feel like, haggling the same person. I don't know, for some reason I thought that would just make me seem like, I don't know, a burden or whatever. So I just opted not to get Spectral Force 3. Instead, I went over and got Need for Speed Carbon and Vampire Reign, which isn't an expensive 360 game. I've seen it a few times, but I haven't seen it enough. So I justified as I would go ahead and pick it up here. She had Vampire Reign priced at 10, and then I believe Need for Speed Carbon was priced at 15. And I think I asked if she would take 20 for both, and she did. So got $5 off on those, which, I mean, I already have Need for Speed Carbon, the Japanese version, which is something that I'm not going to be fussy about when going for the full set. I have a modded 360, so I can play any region 360 game. And that's more of my main focus, right? It's not like to complete the North American set of 360. It's to get all the 360 games, and then I can play them. So games that are backwards compatible on the Series X, Xbox One, whatever, they will work from any region. When you put, let's say, a Japanese region 360 game in your Series X, it just downloads, as long as it's backwards compatible. It just downloads the North American version from the server. So I'm able to play that. When it comes to, other 360 games that aren't backwards compatible, my modded 360 will play it. So in the case of Need for Speed Carbon, it's not an expensive 360 game. If it was, say, if I got desperate enough and could not find Concept Saga at a reasonable price, or could never find it, but I found the Japanese version, if it's like towards the end of the set, it's one of the last ones I need, and I can't find a North American version of it, which more than likely, won't happen unless it's like stupid money, like F1 2013, I would opt to just buy a different region because I can play it. And in the case of F1 2013, the research I've done says that the UK versions are not region locked. So that's probably the route I'm going to go for that. Unless this video gets 100 likes, and then I will buy a North American copy of F1 2013, which I think sells from like $200 to $300. So if we can get this video to 100 likes, I'll do another video of me buying F1 2013 on eBay, because I looked for it there and I couldn't find it. If I had found F1 2013 there, I would have bought it. But yeah, so Need for Speed Carbon, it was only $15. I think Price Charting had it at $20. So I thought, why not? I'll go ahead and get an actual North American version of it. Next up, I got this game from Big Money Bowman, which his first name is also Cody. It's another one of Arkansas Picker's friends. He had all his 360 games on the floor, and I kind of just like glanced down and saw this in there. I was like, well, holy shit. Because this one, I don't ever see Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I never see this game. Now, it is a fighter, and it does have online achievements, and according to, again, more research I've done, you can only play online with this if you have purchased at least a DLC character, because they come with a patch for the online play. I am not sure if the Arena Ultimax version has that patch just on disc, because it has all of the DLC fighters included. So I'm not sure if I could even play this online if I wanted to. So it may be an unobtainable full completion. I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, but I do like Persona. Yeah, I mean, I like Persona, so I may give it a shot. I believe so. I think it's like, looks like it's just 3 and 4 characters. It might have, yeah, it's just the characters from 3 and 4. I don't see any characters on there from 1 or 2, but yeah, I think he had this priced at $39.99. I asked him if he'd take 35, and he did. So that was cool. These next 2 games was just another random booth. These are actually the last 2 games I bought at the convention. After buying Concept Saga, I had to go back to the ATM. I only wanted to spend $150, but I was going to go back and get Spectral Force 3, but I kind of talked myself out of it. So I had $80. I was like, you know what? I'll get Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. And I got these 2 games as well. So I got Star Trek, which I heard is actually a decent co-op. I think it's just a third-person action shooter. And then Attack of the Movies 3D, which is another game that I don't see too often. But I figure Star Trek would be easy achievement fodder, and Attack of the Movies is just something I never saw too often. But they had these priced at $10 each. No, actually, Star Trek was 6. No, 8. Star Trek was priced at 8, and Attack of the Movies was 10. I asked if he'd take 15, and the man's son was like, he turned to his son, which couldn't have been more than like 8 years old, and I don't know, I guess told him to haggle. And the kid like had the 2 games, and he's like, this one's a newer game, would you do 16? Which I was like, how is it newer? This is the old 360 logo. How is this one newer? Also, the case is damaged. But I was just like, sure, whatever. It's only $1 more. I think he's probably just mimicking his dad, and he probably heard his dad say that to another customer when haggling. So his dad was probably like, anytime a customer comes up and wants to haggle with you, go $1 up from what they say. That's probably what that was. It just confused me. I was like, newer. But, yeah, so I got those 2 for $16. And then, because I'd spent probably about $230 at the expo already, when I went back to the ATM, I resigned myself to not go to the flea market that Arkansas Picker had a booth at. But I thought, when is the next time I'm going to be in Arkansas up this way? Probably not in any capacity where I can just go and do whatever I wanted. So it was only 30 minutes out of the way for me to get back home to Texas. So I thought, why not? I'll just go up there and pop in and take a look around. I didn't get anything from Arkansas Picker's booth. He had, of course, all of his good stuff at the expo. He actually had signage indicating that he was at the expo. All of his glass cabinets were empty. But I did a walk around. So here recently, I've actually been wanting to watch the Stephen King movie Christine. I've been getting clips on YouTube for whatever reason. I am somewhat of a car guy. I like the idea of cars. I like racing games. So I like the 1958 Plymouth Fury that's in Christine. So it, you know, it's a car movie. It's a horror movie, but it is a car movie. So I've been watching these clips on YouTube. So I thought while I was at the flea market, I would look for a copy of Christine on DVD, preferably. But if I found a VHS copy of it, I thought, why not? I'll pick it up. I did not find a single copy of Christine throughout the entire flea market. I did the whole thing. I did, however, find Cabela's Adventure Camp for the Xbox 360 Connect. They had it priced at $2. This is, I mean, I had this disc loose when I bought that baggie of games at a yard sale like last year sometime. And I knew I wouldn't find it for $2 at any game exchange. I knew I would probably find it, but it wasn't going to be $2. At minimum, it'd probably be $4.99. So I thought, why not? When I scanned it into CLZ, it popped up that it typically sells for $8. I would not pay $8 for this. So glad I got it for $2. But I got that, and then I bought my dad a die-cast car of a Ford Falcon. He's recently, like, my dad's a big, car flipper. He likes to buy cars, fix them up, and then sell them. And he's recently acquired 2 Falcon wagons. One is in Oklahoma that we have to go get Memorial Day. And he has 2 Falcon Rancheros. So I thought I'd buy him something, not to go too much into my own personal life, but I just wanted to give my dad a gift. So I bought him that die-cast car of a Falcon, which, isn't enough to show my gratitude, but it was really the only thing I can find that he would at least be somewhat interested in there. I was thinking about getting him a hat or a t-shirt, but couldn't find anything he would actually wear. So after the flea market, I started the journey home, which was about a 4.5-hour drive. And the route was going to take me through Texarkana. I knew there was a game exchange at Texarkana. I wanted to stop and get the oil changed in my dad's car anyways. So I thought I would stop in Texarkana, go to the game exchange, and I picked up this game exchange is probably one of the sparsest ones I've seen when it comes to games. Each console only had one rack, sometimes only half a rack for actual games on it. It was mostly collectibles, like pop figures and stuff. They had a pretty decent movie selection too, but yeah, they had hardly any games. But I did find NASCAR Unleashed, which is more of an arcade style NASCAR game, kind of like the Daytona series. So I picked that up. It's a racing game, so I thought I'll at least get some enjoyment. And judging by looking at the achievement list, it looks completable. But I also looked out and found my copy of Christine. When it comes to Game Exchange, they don't take the movies out of the cases because DVDs are worth nothing now. So I guess they're not really worried about somebody stealing it. But let's see. So this side, which is the full screen side, actually had someone's name written on it, Becky, in Sharpie. And the widescreen side was severely scratched. So when I got it up to the counter, I asked her if she could run it through the machine for me real quick. She got a cloth and some alcohol and wiped Becky's name off. And actually, buffed it. So I'm sure that'll play just fine. I actually meant to take it to Nathan's today so we could watch it, but I completely forgot. So I'll probably wait till next weekend, but got me a copy of Christine. And that was my trip out to Arkansas for the Arkansas Retro Expo. And I have to say, it's probably the my favorite gaming convention I've been to. It was a smaller venue. Tickets were only $10, which when I went to the Classic Games Fest in Austin, those were $40. It's a bigger venue. It's like right in downtown Austin, so it was probably a lot to rent that is it an exposition hall? I think is what expo is short for. But yeah, tickets were only $10. It's a smaller venue, so you don't feel like crowded. It was in support of a YouTuber I actually watch. There were other YouTubers I RNG Gamer watch and then have kind of like had a passing glance. I don't think Big Money Bowman has a YouTube channel. I might be mistaken, but I know he had a store, and I didn't think about it until I left. It was probably closed that day anyway, since he was there. Next time I go to Arkansas, I might try to swing by his store too. But yeah, at least Retro Rick, Pac-Man Case was there too. Another, I don't know his name. I'm sorry. He asked if I was, how I was doing, or just common niceties. He didn't really have anything I was looking for, but yeah. But yeah, it was a cool expo. Needless to say, it was a cool expo. I'll definitely be going back to next year's. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I might take Nathan with me next time because I told him he would have loved the flea market because they had a booth there that was just bins of movies. I'm sure I would have found Christine if I dug through all of those bins, but it was already like 1:30 and I still had that 4-hour drive home. I was not wanting to spend hours digging through movie bins to try and find one movie. So I'll probably go back next year if Arkansas Picker does another one next year, and we'll swing by that flea market. But like I said, I haven't really been doing these pickups videos. I'm not going to do it. I didn't notice that NASCAR Unleashed had some schmutz all over it. I'll have to change that case out. But I'm probably not going to do these as frequent as I used to because, like I said, they weren't doing anything anymore. But with this being sort of a special occasion, going to Arkansas Retro Expo, getting Arkansas Picker's autograph, I deemed it at least prudent to do a video on it. But if you're wondering why I was in this room, why the area has changed, it's because my 360 collection has actually grown so much. I had to put another shelf in there, and to make room for that, I had to move my computer. So this is actually my bedroom. So whenever we do this stuff here, it will be in this room from now on. But other than that, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Like I said, if we get to 100, I'll do a video of me buying F1 2013. And I do achievement hunting content. I'm currently still working on the difficulty challenge. I'm going to start doing Wolfenstein 2. I've already got 3 achievements because I'm just continuing my playthrough. I'm not starting like a whole new thing. I'm just, cleaning up achievements. So I've already got 3 achievements. So that video is already started. I'm going to start the, I Am Death Incarnate playthrough because I still need to do that. and then, you know, it's moving on to mine leaving. So if that's something you want to check out, consider subscribing so you can see that when I finish that video. And other than that, leave a comment down below. Did you go to Arkansas Retro Expo? Are there any games here you would like to see me play? Leave them in the comments down below. But check back next time for whatever I do. Bye-bye.